I was born a Mennonite on the Canadian prairies. Now, I could pretty much tell what everybody in this room was thinking when I said that. You're picturing me in my black breeches with the black hat with the round brim, standing in the middle of a wheat field, with or without the pitchfork in my hand. Am I right? Well, it wasn't like that. We didn't have a horse and buggy. Well, okay, 2 horses, but no buggy. And we had a microwave and a TV, just like you. But our microwave smelled a little bit more like red beets and boiled cabbage. See, there are probably a dozen or more different types of Mennonites, ranging from the horse and buggy ones you think of to ones that can drink and smoke. And ours were a little to the right. Nobody smoked, but you could drink, as long as you didn't talk about it in church. And our particular church had a lot of professionals in it. There were doctors and accountants and school administrators, and also one of Canada's most esteemed writers, Randy Workington. And so it was really no surprise that by the end of high school, I decided I was going to go on to grad school and become an English professor. Now, my parents' generation had mostly come from small farms in southern Alberta, and they'd moved up to the big city in their 20s, so they really kept a lot of those traditions alive, for good and for bad. My mother would make these delicious pierogies with fruit filling that we spread sugar on, and then my dad would barbecue this farmer's sausage, which was this hearty brown red smoked meat that was just But then my mom would make this borscht and put it in front of me, and that red beet and cooked cabbage was like toxic waste. And the aroma rose up and threatened to burn the hair out of my nostrils. And if you came to church and listened, you'd be just overwhelmed by this beautiful hymn singing in 4-part harmony that would fill the whole room. But when you're listening to that your whole life, those words kind of become kind of empty and pointless, like Irish drinking music without the drinking. And then there's the jokes you grew up hearing over and over again, and after a while you don't even know if they're funny. Like, if a Mennonite husband and wife get divorced, are they still cousins? Okay, that one's still funny. And so I, to this day, do not know why I ended up doing my undergrad in Winnipeg, 1,000 miles to the east. Because see, Winnipeg is like the mecca of Mennonites of all kinds. Throw a pierogi, you'll hit a Mennonite. And so I went to our Bible college there and lived on campus for a year. But I never quite fit in because the students there, they had this kind of easy friendship that threatened to smother the Gen X cynicism I nurtured for so many years. So I gravitated more towards the university where I took my English classes. But even there, things weren't adding up because in high school, I had skipped a lot of classes, but never English. And now I was skipping all my English classes. So I'm sitting there in 20th century honors literature, which meets for 3 hours every Wednesday. And I'm there 10 minutes early, at 10 minutes to 10, wondering why I even showed up in the first place. And my classmates are sitting around all the tables that are long tables that are butted up against each other to form a big square with an empty space in the middle. And they're all talking about, donuts, hockey, poutine, universal free healthcare, Canadian stuff. And I'm just ready to bolt. Oh, no, and so the only person I could talk to is Sheldon, the guy next to me. And I look over at him, and he gives me a little side eye, and we both know it's not going to happen. Because, see, we should have the most in common of anyone in the class because he and I are the only two probably who are aiming for undergrad studies and being a professor. But in every other way, we are complete opposite. He comes to class on time, to every class, and he's always in this uniform of like pressed pants that aren't denim and a flannel shirt buttoned up to his neck. Meanwhile, I'm looked down and I've got my ratty jeans and last week's menu splattered down the front. Mustard, gravy, barbecue sauce, you get it. And so yeah, nothing in common. And I'm just about to bolt for the door when the professor walks in, and he's got this stack of papers in his hand, and he passes it around. And when it gets to me, I'm just so glad I didn't skip, because right there is the sheet I've been waiting for. All the books for the year are listed down the left-hand side, and on the right is a date beside it. And each of us picks one of those books, and we have to present for an entire 3-hour class on the date there. And I've just been waiting for that, because on the top is the book called The Trials of Little Moose by Randy Workington. And so I've known Randy Workington my whole life. I saw him every Sunday in the church lobby. Randy Workington sang "O Holy Night" on the Christmas Eve service. And in fact, that very year, I'm living in a renovated attic no more than 8 blocks away with none other than Randy Workington's son, Curtis. And Randy Workington was the inspiration for me to want to become a professor in the first place. Because if someone from my own tribe could do it, then I could do it too. So the only catch is that the presentation, because it was at the top of the list, the presentation was next week, and I hadn't read the book yet. So I knew I'd had to buckle down and get to it. So 3 days later, I cracked it open. 3 days and 20 minutes later, I threw it down. Now, it had to be a good book, because it had won the Governor General's Award, the top literary award in Canada, but I didn't get why. Because, see, it was written in stream of consciousness, which means you're reading the thoughts of a character as they're thinking them. So it's by nature, kind of convoluted and hard to read, hard to make sense of. But I'd read Stream of Consciousness and other books before, and I kind of liked it because it was kind of a challenge to figure out, what was going on. But in this case, it just seemed overwritten and, kind of hard to get through. So I came back to it the next day, and the day after that, and before I knew it, it was Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the evening, and in 12 hours, I had to present a book I hadn't yet read to 12 of the smartest kids in the English program. I had no way to get any knowledge because the library was closed, the internet hadn't been invented yet, and my new roommate Curtis, who of course was Randy Workington's son, had just stumbled in 20 minutes ago, probably tipsy, and he was in his room. So I couldn't talk to him, but it did make me wonder, maybe the book would have made more sense if I was drunk when I read it. So the only option was to get Sheldon, the boy wonder, to lead the class. So if I could get him talking, all the other students would try to keep up. So I came up with this list of 10 questions that were open-ended enough to get them talking, but didn't rely on any facts, because I didn't have any. So the next morning, I'm standing in the doorway of the class, and I'm just having this stab of panic. What if they figure out what's going on, that I'm a fraud? But I look at, and they're all smiling and excited. And even Sheldon is leaning forward like a sprinter at the starting gate. And I walk in, and as soon as I put those papers on the table, they pounce on them like coyotes on roadkill on a lonely Saskatchewan highway. And for the next 3 hours, all I can do is watch with this sick fascination as they tear it piece by piece for all the meaning and insight they can get from it. And at the end of the 3 hours, they all file out bellies full and smiles on their faces. And all I can do is I just stand there in kind of a daze because I just pulled off the greatest con in the history of that university. But as I watched the last one go, I realized that I have my own morsel to chew on. And that is that, yes, I'm losing my heritage. And yes, it's obviously clear that I am not grad school material. But it's okay not to have the answers, because as long as I keep asking the right questions. Thank you.